All right. Hello, everybody. We're just making sure that everything sounds fine. All right. It sounds good. So, welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Robbie Basel Show. Sorry that I wasn't live yesterday. Um, but of course, yesterday was my birthday. Thank you guys for all who have said happy birthday to me. Yesterday on my Instagram, I sent a post about it. Follow my Instagram at rbasel_11. I post stories and give some brief thoughts on a lot of the stuff that goes on in the sports world. But really appreciate all you guys, the incredible support that I've gotten from just the past year. And I'll just talk about this briefly from starting my role with ESPN, being behind a camera, and the love that I got for that. They're like, yeah, you keep doing your thing, man, and all that really pushes me to keep going. So I really appreciate all you guys, even though not many people watch this. A lot of people have watched Into the Stands. We technically did win Stream of the Year, or one of them from the draft. Thanks to you guys for watching, who watched that all the way back in April now, which is absolutely outrageous. And yeah, I mean, it's been awesome. I've had a lot of fun doing this. It's really helping me develop myself and what it's going to look like on Into the Stands in the fall. Because Into the Stands, as of right now, will be coming back likely the second or third week of September. That's the goal right now. Of course, Colin and Chris, and we'll have guests like Christian and all come back, and the boys. The boys will all be back, of course. And I'm super excited to run it back for you too, and I bet those guys are as well. But enough about that. Like I said, thank you and all that. For second day being 19 does feel really weird. I'll tell you that. But here's what we're gonna do. Are there people in the chat? Right? Like something in the chat. Make sure you're here. I don't know. I was thinking say with chat's choice to start tonight's stream, but I don't know if people are actually in chat. That's what I want to know. I don't think so. Because I do want ideas. Of course, we have the U.S. Open to talk about. We have F1 from Canada. Transfers galore from yesterday and this morning. Particularly with Arsenal. Arsenal had a lot going on over the last, I'd say, 72 hours. And I just thought of another topic that I didn't write on Instagram. This is how like lack of like brain cells I felt like having the last couple of days with how much went on. And of course, we have Nations Leagues to talk about with CONCACAF and UEFA. By the way, I'm doing a stream in July, probably when I'm going to be in Atlanta, or the Atlanta area, where I'm going to go over everything that happened. So probably the first episode after the Gold Cup final. I don't know if I'm going to be in Atlanta, in Westchester. I don't know yet. So make sure to tune in for updates on that. Follow the Instagram at the Robbie Basel Show. We're closing that way to 50 followers, which would be awesome. My goal is to have more followers on this than Into the Stands. That's the goal. Was it going to happen? I don't know. I don't know. One way to find out is if you guys hit that follow button. But we're going to begin. Actually, we'll begin with the topic that I just thought about. And I got texted this one probably, I would say, 20 minutes before the stream tonight. And that is, I forgot about Bradley Beal. So let's talk about Bradley Beal, shall we? Bradley Beal was traded from the Wizards to the Phoenix Suns. Let's go over this trade. So the trade, according to Adrian Woj, we'll just call him Woj for this. According to the article I'm reading, it was Bradley Beal for Chris Paul, Landry Shamet, and a couple second-round picks and other pick swaps. The Wizards have also agreed to send guard Jordan Goodwin and forward Isaiah Todd to the Suns. What a weird trade by Phoenix, because they get rid of a playmaker for another scorer? Okay. I mean, I don't hate it. Is this what they really needed, though? For those who don't know, just think to yourselves, what was the reason Phoenix didn't go far in the playoffs? Think about it real quick. Give you all a second or two. The reason for that was their depth sucked. And it's still bad. What did they do? They lost more depth. And your starting point guard now, I believe, is going to be Cam Johnson. Landry Shamet, I thought was a decent role player. He'll be on the Wizards. Chris Paul, I think, is going to get bought out by Washington because why would they even want that terrible contract? But it's a really weird thought process from a team that needed more depth, got rid of more depth. Granted, they have the mid-level exception. I believe that's what it is. And then they have more, probably some form of cap space to go through. Maybe they move DeAndre Ayton. I know that's a possibility, him being moved. But I mean, one of the reasons the deal could take place in a few days to complete the deal will be allow the Wizards to field offers to widen the deal to a 3-team trade to give Paul the chance to land with a contender. Teams that this could work for, I think the Miami Heat should do this. Kyle Lowry is good, but I think Miami would be an interesting spot. Wait, what's a team that needs more passing? Could Dallas maybe be in the mix? That would be an interesting one. Maybe he goes to freaking San Antonio and helps out Wembanyama when he gets drafted on Thursday. By the way, I'm not just streaming that. The reason, I just want to get this out of the way. The reason I'm not streaming the NBA draft is because I don't know enough. NFL, I follow all the time. Professional basketball, I don't follow very much. And there's multiple reasons for that. I don't have a team. I could talk about it right here with you guys. And I could do a lot of research on it. But NFL just comes to mind more. That's why we did the NFL draft. And granted, I did it with 2 other people and multiple guests, which made that stream so successful. But the difference here is, one, I'd be streaming in my basement for like 5 hours, and I don't really want to do that and break it down the way that we did it, because that can cause multiple issues with my laptop or something else, and I don't want to take that risk. Additionally, like I said, I don't know enough about these players. Some guys are coming out of G League Ignite or something else, and I just don't have enough actual knowledge of the player. Granted, I know a lot about basketball. I played in high school. I can talk about it for days, but I mean, the NBA is just something that's totally out of my range. So the only draft you really would hear me talk about would most likely be the NFL draft, maybe the MLB draft, because I do know a little bit about the MLB draft. NHL draft, I know about like Bedard, and that's about it. But and that one Michigan guy, I think there's a Michigan player. There's always a Michigan player in that, honestly. But like I don't know enough about it. So NBA and like the fact that it's one night. Because if we did, I think for next year, I'm just gonna give you guys an idea. I think next year I might try to find a way to do night 1 on Into the Stands, and then night 2 possibly stream from my dorm or somewhere for the second and third round. Maybe, I don't know. Just throwing out ideas there. Maybe Colin's watching. Maybe we'll be down for that idea. That would be interesting. But back to Bradley Beal. Back to your regularly scheduled Bradley Beal talk. I don't know what they're even going to do. I mean, they have 4 max contracts. Beal lifted the reason this really happened is because of the Beal no trade clause. Just to bring that to light, 4 max contracts together with a looming collective CBA agreement designated to severely limit the roster flexibility of teams above the second apron of the luxury tax at $179.5 million. The arrival of Beal, this is for the Woj article, the arrival of Beal and the $207 million left on his contract projects the Suns to be a second apron team for at least the next 3 years, which will leave them largely reliant on minimum contracts to fill out their roster. That's not how you feel depth. That's bad depth. You need better than than bad role players in order to contend. The Nuggets did it. They had 2 studs, but they fielded a better team around them. Buying all these big contracts, these star players, and saying, screw the depth, we're just going to rely on these 3, does not work. Brooklyn is the perfect example of this. Granted, injuries had a role to play in this as well. Not bringing that out of the light. Injuries had a part to play in this. But the fact that it just didn't work, and the stats, like with or without them, prove that, but like the depth didn't show, and that's why they were bad. And that's why they had to restart it all with Brooklyn. So I don't know if this really improves the direction of the Suns, but they're going to need a role player, somebody. I don't know who that would be, but they just need to figure it out. I think moving DeAndre Ayton. I know some of my friends from the veteran group chat. Shout out to the group chat real quick, because why the hell not? We talked about this briefly. I don't remember who it was. Oh, I wish someone was here in the group chat to verify this for me, but fortunately no one's here. So yeah, it's a very interesting situation from the Suns, but I think over the next couple of days we're really gonna find out how, or not even the next few days, maybe the next few months we'll see how big this trade actually is. Because I think this no depth problem is gonna be more crucial than some think. So we're going to finish with soccer today. That's what we'll finish with. And we're going to actually head to the other topic no one really cares about, and that was F1 in Canada. My God. Granted, they had a phenomenal turnout. They had 345,000 people at the race, which I believe is an all-time high for the Canadian GP. Good for them. Unfortunately, Montreal did not see the most interesting race in the world, but we saw two things. I would like to highlight two things. Shout out, disappointing from Nico Hulkenberg. I didn't say that in German, so I feel ashamed already. Who got lapped and was supposed to start on the front row, but got a grid penalty for impeding a lap from Gasly, who also had a good day, by the way. But the notes that I have to start, we're going to start with the Italian lads of Ferrari, who actually didn't mess up the strategy. Good for them. Good for them. They didn't mess it up. And granted, you'll say, oh my God, Robbie, they're 18 seconds behind. They finished in fourth. It's like one of the highest finishes of the year. Granted, for Ferrari, that's very underachieving from what you expected in the beginning of the year. But still, this is an improvement. Leclerc finished in fourth, starting in, I don't know where he started. I know he was low. Sainz finished in fifth. Perez had a good day. Alex Albon had a race and a half, bro. He was fighting off people for his life dependent on it. And then you saw Lando get him penalties and fall away from like 8th to 13th, I think is what it was. Something like that, I don't know. But yeah, good week for a lot of people. My other note was, as much as Max is killing it, Mercedes is actually, I don't think they're far away from Aston Martin anymore. I thought when I went on the podcast with Rome, the Starting Grid podcast, I thought Mercedes was farther away. That these upgrades would actually be desperation time at this part of the season for them to try to finish second in the constructors. And Mercedes didn't disappoint. George Russell did. You have to watch the highlight of that crash because it was very unfortunate. You didn't even crash with, I think it's called the Wall of Champions. The last corner before the first straight. Well, yeah, very interesting week in F1. So to look at the driver standings, Max leads by, is that how much I think it is? I think it is. By a whopping 69 points. Which is what I think it is, but I'm not that great at math. Over Sergio Perez, who jumps Alonso into second. I believe he jumped Alonso. I mean, I thought, I didn't even check this. I don't think so. So Alonso in third, then Hamilton. He's only 15 points behind Alonso. Interesting to note. Then it's Sainz, Russell, Leclerc, Lance Stroll in eighth. That's another thing. When do you, like, if they have that good of a car and Lance Stroll is disappointing, same with like a guy like a Perez, when do you axe the guy? Can you axe one in the midseason? Because Perez has been struggling in qualifying. And it's really costing Red Bull more points because they could have ended the constructors title already. Like, granted, they're 150 points clear almost. But Mercedes actually leapfrogged Aston Martin, or already leapfrogged. I don't know. But Mercedes is in second and Aston Martin. I think Ferrari could possibly make a move at Aston Martin if they can. keep doing better than Lance Stroll. Maybe Lance Stroll DNFs once or twice more than the Ferraris. I think it's very possible that Ferrari can jump up higher in the standings. The disappointing one, AlphaTauri in 10th. I don't know how they've done that. Maybe they axe everyone and start from scratch again. But Haas is in 8th. Williams, Logan Sargent had his first DNF of the year, and that was pretty sad. I think it was on like lap 2, but what can you do? They had like a 30-second virtual safety car, but other than that, pretty boring race. But there was something else. There was 2 events that night that were not boring at all. Our first one took place in Southern California, and that is the U.S. Open. Before I talk about Wyndham Clark being a stud, let's go over how my picks went. And shockingly enough, I thought Colin Morikawa missed the cut. All 3 of my picks finished in the top 15. I didn't expect that, not going to lie. The disappointing one was Morikawa because I thought he was going to play way better than this. But he shot 1 over 71 and 3 straight 69s to finish at -2. Xander really disappointed in down the stretch. Shot 8 under day 1. And I was gassing him up on Friday. If you remember, I was gassing him up, thinking he's going to win the whole thing. Yeah, he collapsed again. Yeah. 62, 70, 73, 72. He shot 5 over the last 2 days. Freaking hell. The surprising one was Minwoo Lee. I think had a very good tournament. Excluded 74, he shot 9 under, excluding the 7 in 3 rounds, excluding the bad round of 74. That's pretty impressive. That's his best major finish. So he'll be back at the U.S. Open. I think he could possibly compete at the Open, but we'll see from there. But yeah, Wyndham Clark won over Rory. Rory couldn't hold a putt. I know that feeling. I played in a golf tournament yesterday and hold in the scramble, I think 3 putts. That's not the point. My point is those greens. I had a feeling, and I think I talked about this on Friday, that the course was going to get more difficult as the week went on. And it did. A lot of people were talking about that, and it did. I mean, there weren't any crazy scores. I mean, look at what Ricky Fowler did. He shot 62, 68, shot 5 over the last 2 days, same like Xander Schauffele. Fortunately for Ricky, he finished in 5th, and Xander finished in 10th, but then tied for 10th and a tie for 5th. But the big jump was from round of the day on the final round from Tommy Fleetwood, who shot 63 to jump the tie for 5th with Fowler and Lee. Cam Smith put in a good week. Scotty Scheffler is going to be up there for a long time. I think he's going to become the new Brooks Koepka with how much he wins in the majors. Speaking of Brooks Koepka, I didn't want him to do anything. My guy, where is he? Gotta find him. I thought he made it. Yeah, he finished 1 under. I thought with the way day 1 started, may finish in like the 30s. Finished tied for 17th. Popular major champion picked to win the major. Victor Hovland finished at even at 19th. The surprise player from this week, though, I have to give it to this guy. And the reason I'm going to pick him, I'll say the name in a second, is because I've never heard of this dude. And that's what I love about Major Championship Golf. My player is Austin Eckroat. I've heard of Wyndham Clark, so I bet people are going to ask about that. But Austin Eckroat on the last day shot 29 on the front, which I believe is one of the, if not the best front 9 from the week. And then he shot 1 over on the back. Couldn't do anything on the par 5s, but on the 1 par 5, I thought there was multiple, but he played the par 3 as well, and that's what some people didn't really do. Looking at Xander's final round, let's look at the par 3s. Even 1. He shot them even as well. But he had that 7 on 10. That was really sad. And then he bogeyed the last. I mean, just one of those days, as some will say. But let's now talk about the guy who people actually care about and want me to talk about, and that will be Wyndham Clark. Now, during the end of the final round, I was actually flipping through this in a game I'm about to talk about. So I'm not gonna actually. I'll just name the game in question. It was USA Canada, and I was flipping through this, and I was getting DMs and texts and group chats saying, "Oh my God, Wyndham Clark's gonna collapse." This dude shot some clutch shots in 17 and 18 to get him to where he is, and the emotion he showed. That is major championship golf. The emotion and the difficulty to win these things is clearly exemplified. I believe I said that right. By what Wyndham Clark did this week. And granted, let's go through round by round. If I can do that on this side, I can. Oh, so every time I remember watching these tournaments, the afternoon guys on day one, there's always that one outlier because you usually know the morning guys most of the time do better on day one. And that's what's been the trend that I've seen. And then there's like that one afternoon guy that just goes out rogue and plays extremely well. A couple of years ago, if you remember from Pebble Beach, that was Gary Woodland. There's been other scenarios where that's happened. If you want to go back more. And this year was Wyndham Clark. He shot 64 on day one. He shot 6 under 64. Backed that up with a 67. Day three, he shot 69 to get to where he was. And then played even par 70. He got the 10 under and then shot 70. That's all he needed to do. And much respect to him because a lot of the guys, like Ricky Fowler in the final group, bottled it. Where is Ricky? Bottled it, shot 75. Xander Schauffele bottled it, his chance, and shot 72. So both guys who shot 8 under were kind of in contention. Xander was out of the picture, but Ricky was in contention until the round started, and then he just fell apart. Well, yeah, it was a very interesting tournament. A fun one to watch, I'll give them that. And so now the next major is going to be the Open Championship at Royal Liverpool. That'll be in around a month's time, so I'll be able to talk about that. I won't be in this room, that's for sure, but we'll see how that's going to go. Notables to miss the cut, because I didn't have to talk about missing the cut. Phil Mickelson shot +3, showing Liv's supremacy there. Jordan Spieth, a very popular pick, missing the cut. And a quick shout out to my man Gordon Sargent, who had the most unlucky finish to a golf tournament possible. He had a 3-footer. It's one of those putts where you don't really see it. It hits the bottom of the hole and bounce out for how hard you hit it, and he did it. And I thought that was hilarious. Sorry, my guy, but Sam Bennett made the cut 67-68, shot 79 on Saturday, taking himself out of the picture. Yeah, very interesting field. A lot of stuff happened, and I'll give them credit. It was freaking fun to watch. I'll give them that. That was a lot of fun. A lot of great shots, a couple of hole-in-ones. It was really fun and really enjoyable to watch. Shout out to Matt Fitzpatrick, the last champion of the U.S. Open, who shot 1 under for the week and finished in 17th. So we have one sport left to talk about, and it's going to be broken into 3 parts. The first part, just checking something real quick. I know there's like baseball going on, and yeah, we're fine. So back to your regularly scheduled content. We're going to head over to some transfer news in soccer because, like I said, a lot happened or is happening soon. And we have 3 sources from Arsenal. We have 1 from Inter Miami again, and then 1 from Man City. So let's just dive right into it. Oh, and also 1 from Tottenham. Our first one is going to be, we're going to talk about Inter Miami. And they're going to go after, and a lot of people caught this happening. They're going to go after one of Messi's friends, and the first one that's going to come to them is Sergio Busquets. Why? That's not what Miami needs. They don't need that. I mean, granted, he's going to hold down the midfield, but like my comparison to that is, remember when Michael Bradley held down that central defensive midfielder role when like Bruce Arena was coach? Was he that good? Not really. It's going to be a very similar situation with Busquets. So I don't know if he's really the solution that you really would want on a team like that, but I mean, Miami wants to get those name brand players, and they're going to succeed at that. That's for sure. Next up is we'll talk about let's talk about Arsenal last. The next one was Hyung Min Sun. Now, Hyung Min Sun yesterday. This something actually just came out a couple hours ago. So, for context, Hyung Min Sun received offers from Saudi Arabian clubs. Fabrizio Romano, who I'm using as my source for this, did not list any club in particular. Hyung Min Sun, if I can find the tweet, confirms he will stay at Spurs and he has no plans to join the Saudi league. From him today, he says, "I have many things to do in the Prem. Money doesn't matter to me right now, and the pride of playing football to play my favorite league is important. I want to play more at Tottenham." Tottenham fans are rejoicing, and while their team, I think, is still a ways away from even thinking about top 4, because of how I think a lot of these teams will improve, Tottenham, this is a boost for Tottenham because they might lose Harry Kane. Remember that. Because I believe there's going to be links with him to United probably soon, probably after the big part of the international window is done, because England played Malta, and I'll go over that in the video in a couple of weeks. But big news for Tottenham, who they need some in order to even think about doing anything in the Prem, or they're not going to play in a European competition year. So, I mean, at the end of the day, Tottenham are in an interesting spot. Clubs are going to improve in front of them. Remember, they finished behind multiple lower clubs that they thought they were much worse than them, including teams like Brighton. That's the best example, is probably Brighton, for teams that had more talent overall than what Tottenham threw on the field this year. Next up is City. City want to make moves. They're going to likely sign soon Mateo Kovacic. We knew this for multiple weeks. But now, according to sources, João Cancelo will most likely be sold by Manchester City. What does this mean? They are probably going to get big money for him, and they're going to target a center back in Gvardiol. According to Fabrizio Romano, we're going to find the deal now. Right after Kovacic's deal, Man City will again push for target Josko Gvardiol, as personal terms on the verge of being agreed to with the Croatian center back. Negotiations need to be held with Leipzig, as they want more than the reported $80 million fee. That's outrageous. Granted, Gvardiol is very good, but City, they want someone better to pair Ruben Diaz. Ruben Diaz is very good. If you want to, however you pronounce his name. Portuguese, I've heard it's hit so many different ways. But, I mean, City are closing on the Kovacic deal finally. Personal terms, like I said, were agreed 2 weeks ago. City want to get this deal done this week and reveal him soon. But that deal looks imminent. Now we can possibly have another big City move, as they want to stay at the top of the league. They know Arsenal is going to make moves. They're going to probably expect United to maybe make moves. Who knows what they're going to do? You're going to expect a team like a Newcastle, because of how much money they have, they can possibly make a move as well. So it's a very interesting situation for teams in the Prem, and especially with Man City likely getting much better in defense. That could raise some questions about multiple other players' futures at the club. But now it's time for the big boys. My boys at Arsenal. We'll talk about Balogun later when we talk about the USA game. But we'll start with Declan Rice. Now, Declan Rice, I love Declan Rice. I've been a fan of Declan Rice for years. I talked about him on here before. And Arsenal really want him. The problem is West Ham ain't giving him up for cheap. There's a reported deal today. The second bid to come out from Arsenal after the first one, which was around $80 million, was rejected. A deal that could come up to 98 million euros or pounds. I don't even know what the currency they use for this anymore. Was rejected today. Now, I don't know about you, but I hate this. Because Bellingham went for like 130 if everything gets paid out. Declan Rice should not be for over 100 million. So I think it's because a lot of like some of the money won't be straight up. I think if you just give out like the 98 million, like, if they could find a way to fix it, I think that'll be a better deal for Arsenal. But it's a very interesting move. Also, based on the fact that Thomas Partey could be sold as well, according to Fabrizio Romano. As we go up to, we'll talk about Rice first. Structure payment will be crucial to get Declan Rice deal done. Arsenal have been informed of that. West Ham also want easy add-ons, which is like you pay the base fee, and there's like if he does something, then West Ham get money. They won't accept the structure with difficult ones, as today's 15 million was what it was reported as. Second bid was rejected, but it won't be the last one. And you can expect, I have a feeling, to expect City to get into this with them losing Gundogan. I think there'll be other clubs that will be interested in him as well. I thought Chelsea was going to be in the mix. Don't expect to not see more Prem teams to be interested in Declan Rice. But we heard from Partey. Let me find out him. So negotiations will fall in this next few days between Thomas Partey's camp and clubs in Saudi. His concrete chance to leave this summer is revealed on Sunday. So this is the reason that they're really going to push for the Rice deal, is because of Partey leaving now. Because Xhaka's gone, Partey is likely gone. They re-signed some other pieces, but they're now really have to get this Declan Rice deal. I think this deal can possibly get done within the next 14 days. So the next 2 weeks, I think you could possibly see Declan Rice officially be an Arsenal player. I think their personal terms could be agreed to very soon. It's really going to come down to what the fee is going to be. And that's really disappointing because I think this deal could have been done weeks ago. But one other Arsenal transfer happened. This will be the last transfer we'll be talking about on stream today. If you have any like transfers or team you want me to talk about, hit me up on Instagram. If you know me personally, text me through there. But I'm not really going to drop my phone number. But like I said, personal IG handle is in the description. So make sure if you want to hit me up, just go to @rbasel_11 and just hit me up there if you want me to talk about a particular transfer or a particular team. By the way, since I focus so much on the Premier League, this August I'm going to do a Premier League prediction, and there will be a punishment for how bad I do. So make sure to tune in. Probably, I think it'll be the first or second week of August. I don't know yet. I don't have a specific date for this yet. But there will be a punishment for like how bad I do in terms of like some teams' positions. I still have to figure it all out, but that'll be very interesting. But there's another deal that I talked about, a player being linked to Real Madrid, but not with Arsenal. Kai Havertz has signed with Arsenal. Now, you could put him maybe in the midfield. You could put him at top. Like, why him? The guy did nothing with Chelsea. I mean, he played well for them. I'll give him that. He won a Champions League. He's won trophies with Chelsea. But is he really the guy you should be signing first in the transfer window? Maybe not fooling around with Declan Rice when there's possible chances that he could be signed by another club soon with more money. Like, I don't know, Man City, Chelsea, Bayern. Granted, Bayern is going to have more money because I think they're going to possibly be selling pieces. But just to throw another club out there, like a Bayern, bigger name clubs could be signing Declan Rice for how much talent Declan Rice has. And you saw the money Bellingham went for with the installments and everything. You're going to have to pay up, and you have to get it done now. Because if you're going to sign Kai Havertz, then you're committing to go full send. Full straight ahead. This could be the replacement for Partey. I'm thinking, if you're really thinking about this could be Partey's replacement in that 4-3-3 with the three midfielders. Because you could possibly now have Havertz if you want to put him in the midfield. You have Martin Odegaard, and now you're going to have a guy possibly, if they want to get the deal done, in Declan Rice. And I think that midfield is absolutely disgusting if you really think about it. And I think that midfield has a lot of talent if they get this last deal done with Declan Rice. But I think Havertz, if they put him in the midfield, I think it'll be an upgrade possibly. It's really going to depend on how he plays in the system with Mikel Arteta. And that's the thing that's going to all come down to. So we're only going to talk about the final because that's the only game I watched. And we're going to go to Allegiant Stadium for the CONCACAF Nations League. Hey, USA won a trophy. That game was terrible. Gio Reyna looks good. There will be questions about Gio Reyna. But honestly, I don't even want to talk about Gio right now. Want to know why? Balogun scored a goal. Balogun scored a goal, and Weston McKennie probably had the best celebrations out of everyone at post game, and he didn't play in the freaking game. Now, I talked about before how I didn't think the United States depth would carry them over Canada. Canada did not look great. They couldn't, like, the final third, they didn't look that good. The United States, I want to know, I don't have the XG charts on here because couldn't find it before the stream. Balogun scored a goal. And Chris Richards I believe it was off a corner from Gio Reyna, yeah. But Gio Reyna won man of the match. Player of the tournament, I don't even know who you would give that to, honestly. But United States looked good. But there was questions today circling around the future of Balogun. And it's very possible, I think, that Balogun, he doesn't want to get loaned out again. So I think it's very possible that Florian Balogun won't play for Arsenal in this season. What clubs do I think he could be linked to? I think he played in France. I think it's going to be a French club. Though the sleeper, and I think 2 Americans could possibly be heading to this club, is AC Milan. I talked about them before, and I said I needed to make big additions. Why not get 2 Americans? 2 Americans who are on the rise. One of them on the rise, and one that needs to be revitalized in the regulars, in the not national team wise, because this guy's a goat on the national team at this point, a god as some say, our Captain America, and that's Pulisic. Pulisic ain't playing at Chelsea, and AC Milan's been linked to him this season, in the last couple of weeks. But Florian Balogun and Pulisic playing with Rafa Leao, I think that'll be pretty solid. Could get them that top 4 finish in Serie A. Weston McKennie looked good in Serie A. Remember that. Now he's going back to Juventus. So it's possible that we could have some American-wide matchups, but it sucked in the tournament to not see Tyler Adams. Hope he gets better. I don't know what the exact injury is, but it sucked to not see him there. But yeah, it was a good tournament from the USA. They looked dominant in the first half. They got the job done. 1-2-0. Though, I do have some questions for Canada. And here's a question that I got asked by a friend of mine. If Canada had a better goalkeeper, are they the best team in CONCACAF? Then I revitalized the question to say, if Matt Turner was the goalkeeper for Canada, would they be the best team in CONCACAF? If they had Memo Ochoa, I think they're the best team in CONCACAF, and it's not even close. For how much future they have Alphonso Davies, Kyle Larin, Jonathan David. They have other pieces, and I think they're just a couple pieces if they have a good pipeline away from really competing in CONCACAF. You talk about, I think it has to be starting with the goalkeeper position because Borean is not great. He should have saved the header from Richards, and he didn't. So I think that was really the big miscue for Canada. Really just killed the momentum. Balogun's goal was great. You cannot deny that. But, I don't know. I think Canada, they proved in World Cup qualifying against a team. Granted, the U.S. weren't that full strength. I don't think they were. So a team, granted, that didn't have Serginho Dest, didn't have Weston McKennie, didn't have Tyler Adams, started a midfield trio of Yunus Musa, Gio Reyna, and Brendan Aronson, which I still think is miraculous. I like this formation. So let me just throw out a team that I think I like. Walker. A lot of people are giving a lot of shame to Walker Zimmerman. I still think he has potential, but I'm going to be excited for the Gold Cup because if you saw the squads, it looked like a B team tournament. But the player I want you to watch that was on this Gold Cup roster, other than Zendejas, is Miles Robinson, because he's coming off that serious injury from a year ago. I think it's almost over a year ago now, where he missed out on the crucial games in World Cup qualification. And we had to go to other pieces, like a Carter Vickers or someone like that. So it'll be interesting to see how Miles Robinson plays in the Gold Cup, if he still plays in the Gold Cup. Mexico, I assume, beat let me find this out actually, because I don't want to be that wrong. Mexico did beat Panama 1-0. We're not going to talk about that match, but I didn't watch the game. Now, the UEFA Nations League. This will be our last topic of the day. The UEFA Nations League final was a snooze fest. I'm just kidding. It wasn't that bad. It was 0-0. Spain won on penalties. I think this is really the beginning. I hate to say it, but another swan song has begun for one of the best midfielders, one of the most underrated midfielders, I think, of recent years. And that's Luka Modric. Luka Modric had a good game. I'll give him that. We saw Gavi on the field for Spain, who's officially registered for Europe, registered by La Liga with a $1 billion release clause. I don't know how the hell they got that done, but gotta do what you gotta do. They had Unai Simon in goal with Alba, Laporte, Lenormand, who got subbed off for I don't know who, and Jesus Navas, along with Fabian Ruiz and Rodri, Asensio, Gavi, Pino, and Morata. The bench, there's so much talent. They have talent on this bench. Rodrigo, Ansu Fati, Carvajal, who I believe Carvajal came in the match late. So I'll just go over what Croatia had. They had Juranovic, Sutal, Erlich, and Perisic with Livakovic in goal. Brozovic, Kovacic, Modric with Pasalic, Kramaric, and Vanisic. Totally butchered that. I mean, Bruno Petkovic, Meyer, and Vlasic. Stanisic, I think I said the last one, right? Come into this game. No goals were scored, but Spain comes out on top. And Spain looked decent in this game. I'll give them that. I was able to watch a good amount of this game. But they do have a lot of feature pieces, including Ansu Fati and Gavi. I want to see what happens in the future because it's a very interesting Spain team under Luis de la Fuente. I'm just very interested to see how this team goes long term. But for Croatia, this is devastating because you're trying to get that trophy for Luka Modric and failed again. They emerged at the World Cup in Russia. They've been there before. They've been in these situations in extra time where this is their time. And both of these teams are horrendous at pens enough. So where this game went to penalties and Croatia missed one, all 5 were converted by Spain and they went on to win it. Just the way it is. And a disappointing way to see Croatia go out, but Spain win. They win their Nations League title, and the possible swan song for a couple of players for them maybe Hap starting as well with maybe a Jordi Alba or maybe a Carvajal. So the future is bright for some and maybe questionable for others, just like in other sports. But for now, that's all the time I have for you guys today. There's topics of galore to talk about on Friday. Of course, was streaming on Friday. Sorry about today's. I didn't really announce it much. That was coming on Tuesday today. But we'll return to Monday next week. But we'll be live this Friday. Until then, I'm Robbie Basel. I'll see you guys this Friday.